economic capital from Maharashtra to Gujarat. That is the point which is making. Hello. Mantriji, Minister. Yeah, Mantriji, Nirmala ji.
That's it. So I thought there were more speakers. That is why I was sort of getting my...
No, whatever you want to say.
So first of all, let me thank you very much, sir. Although it is end of a long day, you still accommodated understanding the importance of this bill, because it's a financial bill, and ideally it is something which I'd like the members here to contribute, which is what I've heard many of them participate in. I thank each one of the members who also, after a long day, have been kind enough to be here to discuss this very important bill. So first, I'd like to express my thankfulness to all the members who understand the importance. But only I'll first of all start off with saying, many of the members are aware that this is not something which has happened in the last few years only. It was in 2008, when the Percy Mystery committee, which spoke about the need for us to set up an institution of this kind in this country, because at that time his estimate was that around 50 billion rupees in terms of the service charges and other things in the year 2015. He was talking in 2008, but expressed that by 2015 it will be about $50 billion which India will send abroad for obtaining such services, and that amount by 2025, his estimate was that it will reach about $120 billion. And therefore, there was a clear need felt by this eminent committee that there should be a financial services center and also a hub which should be giving India and the Indian companies that kind of an international quality financial service which is comparable with Singapore or London and so on. So just only to underline the whole sequence, I very quickly will want to run through the dates or the years when this happened. So in 2008, if Percy Mystery's committee, which is a study by the Ministry of Finance, felt it. In 2011, the Ministry of then Ministry of Commerce notified the International Financial Service Center as a multi-service SCZ in GIFT City in Gujarat. So the actual clearance was obtained in 2011 for this center to be developed as an international financial center, financial services center. Then, although it was announced in 2011, so partly addressing this concern, some of the members have raised, saying this many number of years have passed, why is it not really picking up and so on. Although it was in 2011, it was permitted, cleared, notified by the Commerce Ministry. It was only in 2015 that the regulatory bodies issued their regulatory guidelines, such as the RBI, the SEBI, the IRDA, and so on, issued all the performance guidelines only in 2015. So effectively, between 2011 and 15, although the notification happened from Ministry of Commerce, nothing concrete could be done because the regulatory authorities took their time, and it was in 2015. So effectively, it is only from 2015 you're talking about a functioning center. Then in 2016, some tax concession, a competitive tax regime was brought in, exemptions were offered in 17. In 2017, again, tie-up with Singapore International Arbitration Center for dispute resolution. One such member did ask, what happens to dispute resolution? There is a tie-up also with the Singapore Arbitration Center, because in India, business houses, for want of such facility being available within India, and also matured international class arbitration being absent in India, till then had to depend, and even now to an extent depend, but India is also building capability for building arbitration capacities within the country. So for the sake of arbitration, which is nearest place being Singapore, the GIFT City, the IFSC there had a tie-up arranged in 2017 with the Singapore Arbitration Center. And then from 2017, international exchanges have also started functioning. I'll just give you the figures on how many exchanges are functioning, how many international class banks are there. So when all this was going on, it was in 2018 that an announcement for setting up a unified regulator was made. It was in 18 that it was made, and in 19 we are coming up with actually a bill for setting up this regulatory authority. So there are additional tax reforms which I remember announcing even in the July budget and so on. So if we were looking at what exactly exists in the IFSC as it stands today, there are 2 stock exchanges operating from there, one set up by the BSE, which is the Bombay Stock Exchange. India INX functions from there. And also the National Stock Exchange for the IFSC Stock Exchange has been set up there. A daily volume has crossed members who expressed a concern about what is actually happening. Is there something there, or is it just name? Just listen to the numbers of what is happening there. Daily volume in the stock exchanges, Chairman, sir, crossed $4 billion US. So a functional international financial service centers operating there, 22 hours each day it functions, the stock exchange. Then there are 13 international class banks, international banking units, and banking transactions are 24 billion US dollars. ECB lendings happen from there, loan syndications and trade finance also happen from there as of now. There are 40 operational brokers and 100 plus licensed brokers who are actively engaging in institutional broking services and in proprietary trading. 19 plus players in the insurance sector, reinsurance businesses are conducted, insurance intermediaries operate from there, and the sum insured from here is in the range of 30 billion US dollars. And finally, newly IT and IT-enabled services for the financial and legal consultancy firms are also running from there. There are IT companies which have established, and they are 30 plus in total. So if people do have a thought about what exactly is happening, this is exactly what is happening there. These many institutions are functioning. These many varieties of financial services are being provided there. And therefore, it is only right that in order to facilitate those who are operating there, that they don't go from pillar to post looking after several regulators who actually have something to regulate there. We are creating a unified authority wherein all these 4 regulators will be able to operate through that one authority. And that is why in the law itself, when the bill is presented before us, along with the authority bill, we are also invoking in the first schedule, sir, for the Reserve Bank of India, about 7 acts through which the Reserve Bank of India does its regulatory function are also going to have an implication as a collateral to this particular authority which is being brought in. So those little amendments will also have to happen in 7 different acts. Similarly, because SEBI controls the stock and securities market, 3 of those acts which it will every now and then invoke are also being simultaneously amended. Again, because insurance functions happen there, insurance companies exist there, global insurance companies also come there. Under the Insurance Regulatory Development Authority's role, there are at least 3 different acts, such as the Insurance Act, the General Insurance Business Nationalization Act, and the Insurance Regulatory Development Act. All the 3 some sections will also have to be simultaneously amended. And lastly, the Pension Regulatory Authority, Development Authority, that is, even there about one particular act which they periodically invoke is also being impacted by this bill which we are bringing in now. One quick rundown on how are we here now in the Rajya Sabha. We had come here earlier because on 6th February 2019, the Cabinet then had cleared a unified authority. Announcement was made in 2018 for forming a unified authority, but that authority's Cabinet clearance got obtained on 6th February 2019. Post that, on 12th February 2019, it was introduced in this very House. And that's how we had earlier come to this House. However, on the 20th June of this year, sir, the Lok Sabha Secretariat conveyed that this bill is a finance bill, and therefore, under Article 117, Section 1 of the constitution, it should actually be first presented in the Lok Sabha. So we took it to the Lok Sabha and also ensured, much before we took it to the Lok Sabha, that it was withdrawn from this House, and you were grateful enough on 20th November 19 when the Cabinet approved, and on 25th November you've been kind enough to allow the withdrawal of the bill from here, and after which, on the same day, we introduced it in the Lok Sabha, and the Lok Sabha yesterday has cleared the bill, and today, therefore, we have taken this up in the Rajya Sabha. As I'm answering, as I'm making the comments on the authority, I would also simultaneously like to answer some of the questions which have been raised. The question about part-time members, how can they do justice? Unfortunately, I want to highlight the fact that only 2 of them who are being drawn from domain expertise area outside are going to be either part-time or full-time. The rest of them are members already functioning in RBI, officials from RBI. So when they work in the authority, it appears to be part-time, but what actually they do is the functioning which RBI does in regulation for this limited purpose is an authority through which they exert their authority, and therefore what they do in the authority may be part-time, but they are the people who will anyway be doing it in the RBI or of the IRDA, SEBI, and so on. So they are not all part-time. One chairman who's full-time, and therefore RBI, SEBI, IRDA, and PFRDA, each having a member, appears to be part-time, but they are members anyway of RBI, and therefore doing this job also. Then Government of India appoints 2 who are nominated members, and the 2 others are taken from open public expertise-based domain, and those can either be part-time or full-time. That will be determined. So what this bill, other than what I've said, sir, does, without taking much of your time, sir, is bill defines very clearly what financial products are being considered here, what are the services which are being included in this IFSC, what are the institutions which can come into this, and also financial IT-related, IT-enabled services. And I'm glad to say that the IT-enabled services, which are already there as a newer portfolio entering into the IFSC, have given jobs for 10,000 people only for dealing with the back-end processing of data related to financial services. So it's not a call center, but it's beyond that. It's also making up for a lot of software requirements of these financial companies. So that is one thing which I wanted to highlight. And as specifically to the institution, people said only this much area, not really as much as was claimed. I just want to be clear on what is the kind of area we are talking about, sir. 886 acres. The total area of GIFT City is 886 acres. And it is divided into 2 zones. One is domestic zone, which is spread over 625 acres. And the other is the SEZ, which is the financial SEZ for which 2011 the Commerce Ministry had given the permission, IFSC zone, which spread over 261 acres. Now this particular multi-service SEZ with International Financial Service approval obtained has all the financial services units, and the IFSC is the umbrella which is getting regulated by this authority. Now getting regulated by this authority, naturally the question would be, are they going to be separate world unto themselves? Sir, every law of this land, every law which prevails in India is applicable to them. The PMLA, ED, CBI, all will function even in matters related to that. The CAG would audit the authority. And therefore, that is why I read I read out the 14 acts which, under the 4 regulators, are being touched upon. So, largely, these are the kind of specific things that I wanted to highlight. I'm sure the members have so these are large main issues which is being addressed. There was this question about rupee convertibility. And will all transactions sometimes get affected by the convertibility of the rupee? all transactions are going to be only in foreign currency in the IFSC. And so no question arises about convertibility. At this stage, we are not talking about it at all. But much before I go to the second question, which I wanted to answer, sir, the title of this bill which we are bringing in is the International Financial Services Centers Authority. It's a plural of the center. It's not an exclusive gift for the gift city. Any number of financial services authority, as and when financial services center, the hub comes up, this authority will govern all of them. And why gift city, sir? Because it has the advantage of the first mover. The Prime Minister, at that time, being the Chief Minister, had the futuristic thought that India needs such a kind of an institution and a center, and the implication of what Percy Mistri's report said, that much amount of money going out of India for services that Indian businesses want. And therefore, that money had to be spent within India rather than be sent anywhere else. And therefore, this foresight, as a first mover, the Commerce Ministry then in 2011 gave it to them. It didn't stop it, I suppose, for others. It still gives the option for any, like an SE said, any state which can invest in that much of land, build the necessary buildings, and have that wherewithal, can always apply and ask for one. So this is not a gift being given to somebody, but it is definitely indicative of the foresight with which Gujarat Chief Minister, the then Chief Minister, and today's Prime Minister had created the wherewithal and made sure that kind of a facility is available for all India. We should actually be feeling extremely proud that we had that kind of a foresight from Gujarat even then, and I think we should even grudgingly accept it. So then, one other thing, there are also this question, why not Mumbai? I'm sure Smriti ji did the translation, she's not here now, the concern about Honorable Member Dalabhai on it. My predecessor, Shri Arun Jaitley ji, was asked this question earlier, probably in the Lok Sabha, not so much in this house. But he very clearly said, there can always be other centers, but now that we have one, let us fully utilize and let that get saturated. Because after all, it's not just for Gujarat, it's for the entire country. So that guides us in understanding as to why Gujarat Gift City is the point of discussion and not others. The others are welcome whenever they come up. So the Performance Review Committee, just one line, and with that I think I'll be done. To have two-member Performance Review Committee may appear like an in-house audit and in-house oversight committee. But the fact is, it reports to the board and not to itself. And the board actually is something which the authorities board is something which is going to also be looked into by the CAG whenever they look into the authorities' accounts. And it follows the best practices which exist all over the world, that a two-member internal committee is the one who constantly reviews the performance. So we are not doing something which is very different. I've already spoken about the existing practices on the dispute resolution, sir. Indian courts do have the jurisdiction. They will have the complete jurisdiction in all these matters concerned. So thank you very much for giving this opportunity. I hope I've answered all the members' questions and concerns. I hope the House supports the
question is that the International Financial